Patreon.com/IamChellsX, IamChellsX.com, and IamChellsXstore.com for the merch. Young Love, How Do We Traverse It? With Dr. Robert Evans III. Let's go. Dr. E.
Yo, yo, yo.
How you feeling, my good brother?
Man, I'm feeling outstanding.
Good.
Beyond better than amazing, as the Queen would say. Better than amazing.
Oh, yeah. Life Coach Vaughn.
Man, that's pretty dope. Better than amazing?
What word is that? Godly? I don't know.
Queenly, kingly.
Kingly, yeah. Divine.
Divine.
All right. So we're discussing Young Love today, how to traverse it, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's jump into it. I do the show every day. We talk about relationships. There's a lot of people in their 30s and 40s and on up. But today we're going to focus on the youngins. So my first question for you is, as a therapist and psychologist, typically, is your advice for young people in relationships different than your advice for people who are a bit older?
As a therapist, it's important for us to as much as possible, keep our biases out of how we respond to our clients, right? So, my bias, because I have kids, and I have young adult kids, you want to just give them advice straight away. You want to go right in, like, look, this is what you need to do, right?
Yeah. That's what my father always say. I'm gonna tell you what you need to do. Cuz I ain't asking for no advice.
Right, just do this. So, typically is pretty much the same. One of the things that made me want to jump on this, not only is this a very, very important topic because our young people need help, right? But I'm noticing that when we're having these adult conversations with people who, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, they are having the same struggles that the young adults are having, right? So the conversations are the same. So to answer the question, it's pretty much the same. It's pretty much helping them to learn. And it's a little different because when you're young, we're talking about late teens, early 20s, you get permission to still be at a place where you're trying to figure out what's wrong with me. Right? You're trying to figure out, what do I need to fix? You're still in I got to make a whole bunch of mistakes to figure out me stage, right? So it's a little different for them, as opposed to older people who, when you are trying to find somebody to settle down with, if you're trying to match up and you're talking about being equally yoked, you need for them to be at a certain place as far as their self-awareness, right? So otherwise, it's going to cause a major headache for you, because if you're at a place where you're pretty self-aware and you trying to match with somebody who's not, that's going to be a major issue. But if two young people are still trying to figure it out together, then it's a different pathway. It's different experiences that they're going to encounter. And that's what I really want to talk about for the young people, because they just don't know yet. If you could think about now, how all of that now, and if you could go back and think about when you were in high school, think about, college, like, man, if only I knew this, and this. But there's not enough conversation to tell our young people, look, this is what you need. This is what you need to know. It's a whole lot of just craziness when they turn on social media and, they looking around and nobody's trying to give them answers, and they are bumping their heads and figuring out, and they going through, it's different times than we were coming up.
Okay, so you said a lot. You talked about the self-awareness, but one question that I have for you is, because like young people, they more than welcome to come on my show, right? They're more than welcome to, come ask questions, give their opinions, give us pushback. Do you think young people are receptive to advice from people like you, myself, Tay Rob, Dr. Hulk, and people like that? Do you think if we give them the game, we give them the insight, that they're actually going to receive it?
I think some of them are. I think some of them are very, very open to it. I don't think there's platforms doing that. There's not platforms saying, hey, young people, this is what you need to know about relationships. This is how you avoid abusive, toxic, trauma bonds and finding yourself in situations that you can't get out of. I just don't see it. So, I think we need to talk about it more.
Maybe we need to do a better job of sharing our content with the younger folks, right?
Right.
Okay, so I'm a young 21, 22-year old, right? What's the number one thing I should be focused on within, and I got a girlfriend, right? What's the number one thing I should be focused on as it pertains to the relationship? My girlfriend should be focused on, and us collectively should be focused on in terms of the relationship.
What I'm noticing, because I got to count how many college kids that I have that I counsel, and I love having that age group as a client base because they are really just trying to, and I got brilliant kids. I got a kid at Stanford, I got a kid at A&T, Goucher. What's the other one? Old Dominion. Everybody's doing well, and they're just trying to figure it out, and they're in relationships. And what I think one of the major things is they're learning how to balance education, balance, just becoming an adult with now trying to deal with another person, right? And now trying to learn how to consider another person and learn how to communicate. And a big thing is learn how to manage their emotions. And I think that's one of the things that we got to key in on for our young people is, they're not really emotionally intelligent just yet. They're trying to learn how to figure out their emotions. And when in relationship with somebody else, oftentimes it comes out in a negative way when they're trying to get something, trying to get the other person to understand something. They're trying to gain, control over a situation. Their emotions, they don't know how to handle them, and it comes out all wrong, right? So the emotional intelligence, one of the things, that I'm working with my kids who are going through, relationships, I'm like, okay, we really got to get you to be in tune with your emotions and what you're feeling and be able to communicate that, right? Because being able to communicate your emotions, a lot of people are not, they're trying to figure out, how do I communicate that? How do I communicate when I'm upset, right? Or if I feel like, we had an agreement and you didn't stick to the agreement, how should I handle that? So it's learning how to manage conflict in an appropriate way and really learn how to be self-expressive in a healthy way, right? Learn how to say, I don't agree with that, and to set boundaries early on. So learning how to create structure. So to answer the question, you're 22 and you are dating someone, right? One of the first things is to identify your structure. What are your top priorities outside of this person? Because you got to learn how to stick to those things, because your emotions are going to start getting caught up and you'll lose sight of what your responsibilities are and what your priorities are. Next thing you know, you're on the phone with this person, you're going to sleep and you fall asleep on the phone, right? Meanwhile, you're supposed to get up in the morning and you got class in the morning, or you got practice, or you got this, or you got that. Really learn how to stick to your structure and create self-discipline and be able to communicate boundaries to say, okay, here's my availability. And when we have been able to do that for these young people, it saved them tremendously because it keeps them from getting all wrapped up with each other too soon, right? That puppy love thing is real.
Right.
You get caught up too soon, get overwhelmed, you lose yourself, you forget that you're supposed to be focused on X, Y, and Z. So I think the first thing, priority is the structure, self-structure.
Self-structure, self-awareness, focus on your particular goals, right? So even then, though, that brings in the equally yoked part of it to a degree, right? Because if I'm the boyfriend and I am hyper focused on my schooling and everything that I should be, wouldn't it benefit me to have a woman who is also, pretty focused on what she has going on? That way, when I can't spend time because I have to study, she's understanding. And when she can't, go out to eat with me, I'm not in my feelings because I want to hang out with her because I got free time.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And all of these kids that I'm working with are extremely bright kids. They on top of the scholarships. They on top of all of this stuff. So the young ladies and the young guys that they're dealing with also have to be on the same page. And what I'm seeing is if they're not on the same page, it's causing conflict. I have one young lady, she is doing her thing. She's got all types of internships lined up and everything. But the guy she's dealing with is not so on point with the things that he's doing. So she finds herself trying to motivate him and trying to get him more on the same pace that she's on, and then she feels like it's pulling her down. Meanwhile, I got other kids who feel like they're pretty matched up with people who are motivated, they're on top of their schoolwork, and though they're more in alignment with the things that they want to do. And it becomes learning how to communicate effectively, more so than I got to focus on, convincing you that, hey, look, I got to go to sleep because I got school in the
morning. Right. So you touched on something earlier I wanted to circle back to, which is the emotionally intelligent part, right? Mm-hmm. What advice do you give young people and really just people in general on how to effectively communicate and set boundaries while you're actually experiencing the negative emotions, the sadness, the anger, the disappointment, the discontentment? Because, a lot of times when things go downhill, it's because you're reacting while you're in that emotional space. So how do I or anyone else express myself while I'm actually experiencing anger and sadness and all of that?
That is a fantastic question. And for many of us, and not just young people, just us, period, it's really learning how to do that, right? And it's paying attention. That's where the self-awareness comes. And a lot of people just not paying attention. And so I'm teaching them how to pay attention in the moment, how to pay attention to what they're feeling, right? It's slowing things down. It's spending time in that window between something happens and triggers you and you feel some type of way. And before you react, let me spend some time to assess what I'm going through. So, the thing is, for many people, they don't know what they don't know. So that's why it's important really for our young people to just immediately get plugged into some type of additional support. The school counseling, the guidance counseling, they have all types of supports for kids who are in college. But tapping into therapeutic support or some type of additional mediation to help say, look, let me help you to learn how to deal with your emotions and to communicate effectively. I think if we could be proactive and help our young kids gravitate towards that, now as adults, people are starting to say, you know what, therapy is a good idea. I think I might be, something that I could check out. We should be encouraging our young people to do that sooner than later, right? Get with somebody who can help you be proactive, because otherwise, for many of us, we had to learn the hard way. We had to learn through being in an abusive situation that, man, I don't want to be like that. Oh man, I overreacted. I don't want to be like that. So, I think one of the things is being proactive about showing our kids, look, you can connect with these therapists that you have at the school, the guidance counselors, get with a mentor, get with a peer group, talk about what you're feeling, talk about your emotions, and communicate. For our adults who have young adult children, is creating a safe space for them to be able to talk, have family meetings, have opportunities for your young people to be able to talk and help them right then and there in real time with their emotions. Because a lot of young people, what they want to do is shut down. They want to shut down. They want to end the conversation. They want to remove themselves. No, let's practice having a tough conversation while you feeling some type of way and being able to do it in a respectful way. So somehow they got to learn that.
So this is what I was going to say. I think if I think back to when I was younger and emotionally unintelligent, right? One of the fears of expressing yourself, I think the reason people shut down is because they don't want to be the extreme version of themselves represented by that negative emotion. Right? So I'm experiencing anger, and in my mind, I know how far I can go with this anger. So as opposed to fully expressing that anger, I'll walk away, or I'll say, I don't want to have the conversation. I'll avoid it. Right? So then the question becomes, in that moment where I experience that anger, and Dr. E is saying, okay, I have to learn how to be able to communicate with this anger. Does a safe space look like allowing them to fully express that anger as long as no one's getting physically hurt? Does it look like asking them yes or no questions so that they can kind of begin to part and parcel out the aspects of their thoughts that they need to get out? What does it look like in the throes of action?
Well, the first thing is to teach our young people that anger does not give you permission to act in a way that's inappropriate, right? Anger does not give you permission to say, because I'm angry, I get to break something. Because I'm angry, I get to yell and scream and curse, and I get to punch something and hit the wall. Like, what it is it's a lack of tools, right? It's a lack of tools. People access the tools that they have available to them, and that's what they use when they feel in some type of way. If that's all you know to do, that's what you're going to do. So we have to give our kids more tools. And part of that is by leading the way, leading by example, right? But I think one of the things that kids need to look out for when they're entering these relationships as teenagers, as young adults, is find out what is in these kids' toolbox. If you're a young lady and you assessing a young man, how does he express anger? And don't think it's cute if these people, these men or women are kirking out on other people and they saving you. They like, nah, I would never talk to you like that. Just them, right? You think it's cool because they can stand up for themselves and, they can express themselves that way. Like, oh man, I got a tough one. That same expression will be used on you when the time is right. And so you really want to assess, how does a person express their anger? What do they do when they're upset? What are their tools? And talk about what tools can be used. You know what I mean? Because you could be at the height of your anger. You still don't get permission to jump out there.
Right. Okay, let's dig into the part that really, give me 1 second, let me pin this. If you real quick, just a side note. If at any point you want to bring people in, we could bring people in. You let me know.
Yeah, I invited a couple of young people, man. I told my girls, we got 23-year-old, 18-year-old. I told them to tell their friends. So I saw a couple of them join because I think if we can hear from the young people, that'll be good. If they got questions or if they want to know things or if they got insight, that'll be good. So if somebody's on here, young adult, and you want to jump on here, it's open. If you want to just send a request, and you don't got to stay long. If you want to make a couple of comments, but I really just wanted to get messaging out to young people. I had a young lady who was on my caseload who was 19 years old, and she experienced more than probably the average 50-year-old. Right. I mean, when it comes to her sexual activity, when it came to the abuse that she sustained in relationships, the type of substances that she used, drugs. I mean, she had been through it, man, been through it. And she was caught up in a relationship thinking that it was love. But this guy was trying to kill her. Right. Literally. Right. He at times literally tried to kill her, strangle her, stabbed her with forks, all types of wild stuff. Right. She wouldn't press charges against him. She was confused because she thought that he loved her because he was definitely showing her a lot of attention. But what we can't do is get confused and think it's love because a person is so concerned about what you're wearing, so concerned about where you are every second of the day, so concerned about your friends. And you feel like, oh man, this person really cares about me. This person really loves me. Meanwhile, that gives them permission to cuss you out, call you all types of bitches and hoes, and whoop you. No, it doesn't give them permission for that, but the confusion is there. I talk about this a lot in my trauma bond episode on Black People Go to Therapy. Trauma bonds are a real thing, and people get caught up because the perpetrator is really going to consume you with love, shower you, and then I have some more to say when it comes to young people, especially young women. Oftentimes are attracted to older guys, right? Mm. I think the attraction to older guys has to do with a number of things, the stability of the guy, the maturity level of the guy, the ability to be able to go and come and have money and, you can get what you want, right? But when you think about this, there's a reason why these guys are attracted to younger women, right? Mm-hmm. There's a reason why if you are that old and that established, why wouldn't you get somebody your age? Why would you be attracted to somebody who you're 10 years older than? If not to be able to control that person, if not to be able to say, you know what, let me be able to mold this person and dictate to them how I want this relationship to go. And you get caught up in the fun and the access to different things and the freedom. And next thing you know, this person is controlling everything, every move that you make. And next thing you know, you're being abused, right? So that's one of the things that I see. But I definitely want to open it up for people, any young people. I say, don't be shy. I've seen a couple of y'all jump on here.
Okay, yeah, I got 2 requests to come in, so we'll do one at a time.
Okay.
We'll do one at a time. I think Miss Butter was here first. So if she's still in here, we'll bring her in. And then after that, Nikki, I got you after Miss Butter asked her question. But what's up, Miss Butter?
Control.
Hey, Brother Charles.
Check this out.
What'd you say,
Hi,
Dr.?
sir.
Hey, how you doing?
Dr. E. So I jotted down a few things that I wanted to send y'all way regarding young people. So I am from DC, but now live in West Virginia, as Charles knows. The calling on my life is young people. So I have a nonprofit that is focused on teens and young adults, because everything that you're saying, I've already experienced. But I feel that I am a Titus 3 woman, which is an aged woman that is used to teach the younger generation. So I say that the kids, this is for you, Dr. E, the young people that you interact with that are successful, are they from a 1-parent household or a 2-parent household?
Both.
Okay. So that was one question. And then for Charles, I agree with unequally yoked, because if you're unequally yoked, you're always fighting for opposite directions. If we, in my generation, since I'm over 50, a lot of people got married to the ones that they went to college with. And some are still married, but some are not. I agree with being proactive. However, how can you be proactive if you're not trained or taught the various skills needed to be proactive? So I have a 13-year-old. My 13-year-old is allowed to express exactly how she feels when she feels it, as long as she's respectful in what she says. So no, she's not going to say, Daddy, you get on my effing nerves. She's going to say, Dad, that hurt my feelings. Because her father is a doctor. That's why we have no dealings with them. And I say, speaking up or voicing their opinions, I think that actually comes from them feeling safe, not from a point of being angry, because if you feel safe, you're going to say whatever it is that you feel. If you don't feel safe, you're just angry, that means that you had shut off even before attempting to get help. And I say that because domestic violence is a circle of abuse. And most people, when you say domestic violence, they only think physical. That's it. Yeah, I've been strangled. He sat there and waited till I came back. I've had a fractured jaw where I went to the ER and the workers wanted to meet him outside. I never pressed charges. The one thing that saved my life was the fact that I was pregnant. And I was told I would never have a child. And I got pregnant. And because of my genetic makeup, I knew that my firstborn was going to be a girl, because it's girls on both sides of my family, every generation. Firstborn is a girl. So I commend you, sir, for the topic and reaching out to young people, because it is something that's needed. I teach young people etiquette as well, and we're not allowed to say certain things in my environment. So my daughter has friends that spend the weekend. I am Auntie Barbara to those girls. If my daughter, we'll call her P, if P has an event with her women's group or her girls group, whoever's at my house goes to that event. Whoever spends the weekend at my house, they get up on Sunday morning and they take that hour and a half drive to DC with me and they go to church. So I think it has a lot to do with the mindset of the upbringing or environment of our young people.
Okay, so then Dr. E, the question would be, how do we as an older generation structure our lives as a representation of what it should be for the younger people?
Because the younger people mimic what they see. And I say that because I'm a very humble, and I'll say humble individual. I'm very quiet. I'm cordial. I can crack jokes. But when I interact with people, it's not like they're strangers. It's like they're people. They're human. They're my friends in a distant life, or my sister or my brother in a different life. So I just feel that if we act in that manner, then they'll start addressing people in the same manner. I know I act different. I know I stand out. And that's why people look at me different.
Okay.
Yeah, I think she answered the question, man. It's pretty much lead by example. And I'm glad that you are doing what you're doing for the young people. They need it. Sounds like you're doing what it is that you felt like you needed.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Dr. E, I fought it for a long time because I've been abused all my life. But my abuse started at home. And most people don't look at that. Most people don't look at how we were brought up. And God beat me over the head with it because I was so against it. And one day I sat down and I just thought about my life. And it's like, Lord, why are so many kids gravitating to me? They have moms and dads who hasn't went through a tenth of what I've been through. The 19-year-old that you described, oh, believe me, I feel all her pain.
Yeah.
All of it.
Okay.
And I'm thankful that I've never been on drugs and I never was a drinker. But all that other stuff and the extra, the suicide and all that, I told Chelsea the other day, I've been through so much. To look at me now, you would have no clue. My grandmother said to me on her deathbed, never let anybody think you're beneath them because they never would have been able to handle what you've been through. And that sticks with me.
All right, Miss Butter, we got to let you slide off. I got to get Nikki in here and somebody else want to come in too. We appreciate you. You know what you're supposed to do. Run to the pain and take your power back.
That's right.
All right, peace out. All right, later.
Peace.
Hey, hit the leave button for me.
I got you.
All right, so Nikki's up next, but if you could remember this bookmark for me, Dr. E, I want to hear you talk about how young people can deal with the heartbreak of puppy love, because I think a lot of young people, that puppy love, I think I've been through it. We all been through it. And I think it's a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It has a reverberating effect on people throughout their lives, and it plays a part in their relationships and marriages moving forward. So I want to hear you talk about that, but I know Nikki been in the waiting room, so just keep that in the bookmark for me.
Got it.
All right. Nikki, you up? See if she can get in here. Is Nikki still in here? Nikki, what's happening?
What's going on, brothers? How are you?
Good. I feel great.
Good. So I too took notes. So I have a mini list. I don't talk about this a lot, but I wanted to share. I was in a domestic abusive relationship at a very early age, 17 and 18. And I think a few things, and it wasn't to the fault of my parents. I came up in a 2-parent household. But one thing that wasn't defined for me was love. Love was not him sitting outside of my house watching my every move. Love was not showing up at my school and sitting there until I got out of class. At that time, we're like, oh, he cares. No, sis, red flag.
Yeah.
Red flag. So I think the definition and defining what love is versus abuse and obsession, if you will, is very important. I don't think that we should wait until the conversation of being equally yoked to make it synonymous with marriage. We need to know. You need to be equally yoked with your tribe. You need to be equally yoked with your surrounding, with your circle. And that means a lot. Oftentimes we don't hear that until we talk about marriage. But it really starts way before then, because a man findeth a wife. She's already that when he finds her. And so we need to have those conversations earlier than later. That was one. Two, and I'm only speaking on what I wish I would have had to prevent that trauma for me and to get me through it. Two would be, it's never too late to leave. It's never too late. I think my ancestors took my feet and walked me out of the house. Because I don't know if I had the strength at 18 to do it on my own. Something moved me and said, you will never come back to this. And out of that relationship came a baby. I had my firstborn, 21 years old today. But something said, you will never have to look back, but you'll be a testimony. Your glass is half full and not half empty. You will be able to teach from your pain. And I did that. It's never too late to leave. That opportunity is always there. Thirdly, is there's no shame in it. Oftentimes we don't leave because we're ashamed that we've been duped and hoodwinked and bamboozled. So we clam up and we will try to stick it out and we become shameful. But through that, there's power and there's peace. There's goodness on the other side. And so many women, young girls especially, feel I can't leave because everyone will know what I went through. And there's the scarlet letter. And very young, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know where it came from. I'm telling you, the ancestors was working. Because I don't know where that strength of mine came from, but I know it was beyond me. It was beyond me. And the day that I got my last black eye was the day I never looked back. And I was holding my infant in front of his family. And nothing, there was no one that interceded, no one that came to my rescue. But something said, sister, leave and don't look back. And 21 years later, I've never looked back. And even to this day, I get happy birthday text messages. Sorry, I got a call. Am I still here?
Yeah, you here.
Yep.
Okay. I still get the happy birthdays. I'm sorry, the apologies, but I'm at peace with it. And through my story, I knew I went through what I did to get other young women out of those situations. Yeah. So those were the three things that I wrote down.
Good stuff.
Cool. Okay. All right, Nikki, we appreciate you.
Thank you, brothers. All right. Take care.
Thank you. I appreciate you, man. That's outstanding messaging that she gave, man. She said the definition of love. That's one of the big things I see also is, and I talked about that. I don't know if she was listening before, but I talked about how people get fooled and feel like this is what love's supposed to look like. The one thing that she said that I wanted to speak to, she talked about what keeps people trapped in there and feeling like, man, you know what? I think they feel like they're not going to be able to find that kind of connection again. That's the lie that we tell ourselves when we're young, puppy love. you never felt nothing like this before, you feel like it can never happen again. It's like, oh man, I'm never gonna be able to find nothing like this again. Even if there's some abuse in there, we cussing each other out, we fighting. That level of passion seems to be a level of interest, like this person really cares. But also, because we're that passionate when it's bad, we're also very passionate when it's good. So we feel like, man, this is so intense. I'm never going to be able to experience anything like this again, any kind of connection like this again. And that is a lie.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you. I think what it is that it makes you feel alive, right? Like to live is to experience the polarity of positive and negative. And like you're saying, the positive of young love is an extremely great feeling of positivity. But on the opposite end, you get the negativity. But regardless, to feel is to know that you're alive. And I think they kind of get attached to that feeling, which kind of segues into the bookmark, which is how do young people deal with heartbreak? Because I know if I think about my young love heartbreak, it was difficult to see that I was going to be a 40-year-old man one day. It was difficult to see what my future was going to look like outside of this relationship, right? It's very difficult to see. So how do young people traverse that heartbreak? What do they do to get through it?
You know, I wish we could have conversations with them beforehand to kind of prepare them beforehand, right? Much as we can, people, man, let's prepare our babies for what's to come, because they got to know that, okay, you know what, you're gonna feel like you got hit by a truck, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Life is not over. You know, I have clients who, in now, like you say, 40s, 50s, are still being impacted by that first heartbreak. Still being impacted by that, and the first heartbreak nearly took them out. Where they, man, it's the world is over. I'm taking pills. I'm trying to check out of here because of what this feels like. And it's, you know, if we can't be proactive and we're in it and we're trying to help them through it, it's helping them to see that this is not the end of the story, right? This is not the story. The lie is that I'll never feel a connection like this again. That's the lie. Also helping them to
Hold on, Dr. E. Hold on. Hello.
Hi.
How you doing today?
I must hit the button by accident. I joined in. I was listening in and out like getting off from class. And
did you want to join it? Did you want to be on the live?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. All right, just give me 1 second. Mute your mic for me right quick.
Okay.
All right, Dr. E. Go ahead and finish up. It was cutting you out, and I don't want to lose. I didn't want to lose what you were saying.
Remember them old Nextels where you get like beep beep and just jump right in the conversation?
Yeah.
Remind me of that joint. But yeah, man, just helping our young people to see that this is not the end of the story. You will definitely be able to feel this again. The lie is that you'll never be able to experience anything good like this again. And it's hard for them to see beyond the now, right? So teaching them how to be in that space and be okay with feeling your emotion, but teaching them how to also come out of that space. And that's what we need to learn as adults. How do we learn how to come out of a really, really sunken place? And it's allowing ourselves to feel it for a moment, but then pulling ourselves out of that to say, you know what, I'm not going to stay here. Even if we don't feel like it, we still got to go through the motions. We still got to get up. We still got to wash our butt. We still got to brush our teeth. We still got to do what we got to do. And eventually we'll overcome. But, you know, it's as much as possible trying to prepare them for what's to come, and then helping them, just being there with them, and helping them. Look, we all experienced it. I'm here with you. I went through it too, and helping them to see that they're not by themselves.
See that, and that's what I was just gonna say. If I could add, it's important. I know as a kid, you only see your parents as your parents, right? You didn't see your parents when they experienced their heartbreak, so you don't imagine that they know what this feels like. So I think it's important that as parents and, you know, an older generation, to be able to give truthful and honest accounts of the things that we went through, the thoughts that we had, the struggles that we had, so they can see, like, I am your living testimony. So it's not, I promise you, it's not the end. And it's not just because you're my child and I love you and I want to tell you what's best so you can get through. I'm telling you this because I went through it.
Right.
And I can tell you that. And I think that's important because it gives them a scope of their parents before they were your parents.
Right.
You know, so Miss what's your name? Miss Aiden? Is that how you say it? Miss Aiden, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, how you feeling today?
Blessed, no complaints.
Good.
I was hearing about the young lady when she said she was in a abuse relationship. And when I come to find out, I'm 47 years old. And when I come to find out of my first relationship was from my parents, how they interacted with one another. And I feel for people to find themselves in an abusive relationship there. And it always starts from the home, you know? And if you don't have a great perspective from your first relationship, which is mother and father, you tend to, it's like a spirit that dwells over you, you know? And I know a lot of young ladies, today's day, mother or father weren't in the home, and you got the grandmothers that was raising them, where they're looking and searching for something, but no one told the young lady or myself at the time how much value you carry as a woman, you know? And if you don't know who you are when you are standing before God, it's kind of hard to distinguish what person is for you if you don't know who you are. And if you already suffering from trauma, it's like a flag on your forehead, like, trauma, come get me, you know? But I know you have to love yourself to identify, hey, you're in a messed up situation. And it calls you to go to an abusive relationship to know that you do have worth. But when you feel that you don't have worth, you're going to find yourself in attracting things that's not of you, but of the spirit that was bound to you when you was younger. Unfortunately, we are in the spiritual aspect of things where when you're meant for great, you got a lot of things and a lot of entities that will try to pull you back and not let you see your greatness. I'm speaking from experience. And I know it starts with love. If no one teach you how to love, you're going to find yourself in a situation thinking love doesn't hurt. Love, God said, love is love. It's patient. It covers a multitude of sin. So if you're not knowing these attributes of going into a relationship, you're going to think this guy buying you everything, providing is love, when actually it's only things. Love will sit with you. Love will be unconditional. Love should never, ever hurt. And that's what I wanted to add.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you, Dr. E. Did you have a response to that before I let her slide off?
No, I thought that was really cool. I think that one of the things that I see, especially with the young ladies, the absence of the father is extremely, extremely impactful, right? So it's not only impactful on our young men, but it's also impactful on our young girls. And I see them searching for to something to fill that void, right? And like you said, if they're not taught what love is supposed to look like, then they could be misled, and oftentimes they are. And it's the search for what I feel like love is supposed to be. And when you're being treated a certain way, it can feel that way, and especially if you're introduced in the wrong way. You know, I had one young lady who she was introduced to love and she was already vulnerable because her
by
father.
What? I didn't. You cut out.
By predator, somebody who
Okay.
Right? Somebody who was older, it was completely inappropriate. But so that completely just tarnished her view of love, and it really messed her up, you know. So it definitely leaves our young people vulnerable when they don't have the right vision of what love is supposed to look like early on.
Okay.
I just want to say one more thing. Spiritually, coming from the Holy Spirit, the Son, and the Father. It's not so much that we don't have a father or a mother in the home. Like, God believes in taking care of the fatherless and the motherless, you know? It's the formatic of it is I didn't have daddy issues, but my dad emotionally wasn't attached to me, but he was in the home. So therefore I still have those issues that any other young lady would have about their dad. But I knew my dad loved me, but I also knew my dad didn't have time because he had to work to make sure that I had the latest Jordans. Like, I wasn't lacking, but I still lacked the emotional part of a father. So I found myself searching for guys. The difference is my wish was you couldn't call me like, oh, I get your nails done, because I already had that done by my father. You get what I'm saying? But in a sense, I needed my father because he never talked to me about sex, and it led me to, dating an older man and whatnot. But overall, I went into a relationship not knowing the fundamentals of if I would have been taught the lesson of how a man is supposed to uphold you and honor you and treat you as you his wife. And if you don't know how to honor yourself, you're not going to know how to honor that.
Okay, cool. Got you. Well, I appreciate you, Miss Aiden.
Thanks for your comment.
All right. Hey, can you hit the leave button for me, Miss Aiden, so that it doesn't get blocked, so that it doesn't block anybody else from coming in?
Okay.
All right, thank you. So, what was I gonna ask you, Dr. E? Oh, it's something else I wanted to touch on with you, Dr. E. Specifically for the guys. What advice do you give your clients, or what advice would you give in general for young men who are coming into their own, haven't really fully established themselves yet, but are trying to traverse the am I an alpha male? How do I be an alpha male? How do I be a leader culture? What is your advice for young guys in this new red pill, alpha male, beta male, sigma male, labeling all the guys era?
That's an interesting question. Because for me personally, I don't like labels, right? So I don't get caught up in labels. I don't even like to talk about a diagnosis with my clients, right? Because I don't want them to get caught up on a label. If they even mention alpha or beta or any of that stuff to me, I'm gonna shut that whole language down. So, but to your point though, all of this language can be very influential, and I do have some clients who are drawn to these images of, okay, maybe this is what a man is supposed to be, or maybe this is what a man is supposed to be. And so it's really helping them to learn themselves, right? It's a beautiful thing to have me or somebody like yourself or somebody that they can bounce these things off of, because it's like otherwise they would just be out here lost. But it's helping them to really to begin to take note of what it is and be mindful, right? Learning mindfulness early is really important. Being mindful of moments, being mindful of what they're going through, learning how to establish priorities and structure is really important. But when you talk about, what is it to be a leader? I'm helping them to learn how to define their purpose, right? What is it that their gifts are? What are they passionate about? What should they be focused on, right? Because, I have several young guys, and, I help them to see that being on the right track and being focused is they're never going to have a problem finding a woman, right? The key is going to be self-discipline. So we're talking about how to be self-disciplined and what that looks like and how that is a form of leadership and being able to say, look, telling the woman, look, I got to study. So we got to take it on in. I got to go to sleep, right? And setting those boundaries early and how that's going to keep them still being chased after and all of that, because a woman don't want something that's too easy, right? It's too easy and she's not going to be interested anyway. So him being like, look, this is what the structure is. This is what it is. I'm focused on my schoolwork. And they love focus. They love consistency. And that's what the leadership is supposed to look like. It's like, look, I'm focused on my future. What are you focused on? Right. And so it's teaching them how to prioritize themselves. Just the same way with ladies, it's teaching them how to prioritize themselves, create structure, learn how to focus on their priorities.
Okay, cool. I have a follow-up question to that, but somebody wants to come in. It's the inverted for the, a bit of the inversion for the females. But I'll bring this person in, whoever it is, and let them ask their question, and then I'll go to that. Let me ask you this before I do that. Normally I do 2 segments. Would you rather take a break at around the 1 hour mark and come back and start it over, or you want to push through?
Up to you, man. I don't want to break your tradition. If you need to take a break that and come right back, or I'm good either way.
Okay, so I mean, we'll see how it goes. I like the break because it kind of resets everything. It gives us a chance to recalibrate and think about things we may have missed and all of that good stuff. Sincere, I got you. Relax, bro. You coming in. That's why I like to take the breaks, and then it gives notifications to other people to join the live. So it gives the people who are in here, they already know we coming back, and anybody else new who gets the notification, they can come in. So I got 2 people asking to come in. I'll let them ask their question, and then we'll close hour number 1, take a 5-minute break, and come back. Say Rob say take a break so she can get home, and then we'll come back and do hour number 2. So let's do it. Sincere, you up first, and then Passport Chicken, you're up after Sincere. Sincere.
Man, big Sincere. What's going on? Thank God it's Friday, man. How y'all feeling, man?
Yeah. How you feeling?
I'm good. I wanted to just say this one word. How do we fix the trauma across our Black community? That's what I feel is what's holding us back, is the trauma. That's my point. That's my word.
Absolutely. Brother, you got to check out the podcast, man. That's all I talk about is trauma.
Yeah, that's what you follow. I got you in the follow.
We got to learn how to heal, man. That's exactly what we got to do. And part of this journey is exactly what we're doing now. It's having the conversations. It's what Chels does every day. It's what I do every day, is have these conversations to get people to think and to talk about it more. Take it home to your families. Talk about it with your family. Talk about it with your kids. But we have to learn how to heal, because otherwise, if we don't, the trauma is going to continue, right? And so what we're doing, now what we're seeing, what's trending is we're dividing more. Instead of coming together, we are dividing, especially men and women. Black men and women are at odds, and we're calling each other toxic, and we're coming.
Can I say this? I don't think Black men and Black women are dividing. I think Black women and Black men, they're expressing themselves, and they're really saying like, hey, we're woke. This is what's really going on in our culture, and I'm proud of it, man. I love to hear the Black women speak, and I love to hear the Black men speak, and I think that we're really saying like, hey, this is what we want to see in our sisters, and this is what we want to see in our brothers, and I'm proud. I'm proud because I feel like for just me being a little voice, and you, Shells, and you being, what you're doing, bro, we're a voice, and we're telling people like, hey, things can get better. Our power can be taken back for a right way. So I'm proud. I'm happy. I think our Black culture is doing great. I really do. I'm happy at this point, and I'm at peace.
So
for real.
Okay, so I'm an advocate for people expressing themselves and, exchanging ideas, public discourse, and all of that. But I do think that what's happening is instead of the overall relationship between Black men and Black women looking like teamwork, a lot of the conversations become competition, competitiveness, right? So if you notice, like on my show, when I ask someone a question, I'm genuinely asking you the question. I'm not asking you the question to get you an answer a certain way so that I can have like an aha gotcha moment and be like, ha, I told you I was right. And that's what happens a lot in these conversations, is that, yeah, the conversations are happening, but they're very disingenuous, right? There's a lot of inception, mind manipulation, coercion to try and convince people to see things the way you want them to see them, instead of actually like hearing, what is this lady actually saying? What is this man actually saying? This person is expressing their mind and their heart, and we're trying, and the first thing we do is we'll say, well, you shouldn't think that way. Women are supposed to be submissive, right? And it's like, but okay, if you have that viewpoint, it's cool. But be able to put your mindset in a neutral space long enough to consider what this person is saying, so that instead of us bumping heads like this, we can actually come together and be like, oh, I see your point.
That's my point right there. Shells, like,
so people are talking, brother, just like Chell said, they are. But are you seeing that people are unifying?
I'm seeing our brothers and sisters unified. When I look at the world and the culture, I don't see no gender war. Like how there's a gender, like how the culture puts out, oh, the Black woman and the Black woman against each other. I don't believe that. I think that the Black man and the black woman can be stronger than ever because we are both truly king and queens. And I really feel like we can make a change. I feel like I'm proud of my community. Like I love the image that I'm seeing of my black community because it's not all bad. There is a positive side. I just feel like the agenda has pushed a negative side, and I do feel like it's not what they're pushing out in the world where it's negative, just violence, black on black crime. I really think that we can win. I love my black culture. I love what it showed me, so I'm proud of it. I really am.
Cool,
I really am.
cool.
Man, that's good stuff. It's good to hear. I think, I think we should have a good view of our community. I feel the same. I love us too. And I think our lens is dictated on what we are exposed to and what we see often, right? So maybe it is that your lens is this way because you're surrounded by a bunch of positive people, which is good.
I am. It's all positive people. Like Shells, just people on the internet. Everybody around me is just positive. I don't be around negative stuff. I be around real positive stuff, and I'm healing and I'm at peace. I'm really doing what's right and trying to see my community I just want to see our brothers and sisters win. And I'm proud. I'm proud of it.
To that point, though, we do have another segment that's still struggling.
Right.
Even though we do have some people coming together, we have talks like this, we have people that's on social media that's doing big, good things. There's still a segment of us that got a lot of work, right? So
it's a lot of work in our black community to get it right. And we have to just do the work and just, like you say, Shells, take your power back, man. And once we do that, it's going to work, man. Our black community is not failing, man. We're going to do what's right. We're going to try to win. I'm proud of it.
I appreciate you, Sincere.
Yes, sir.
All right, my guy. Hey, hit the leave button for me.
Always.
Right,
if you come back, man, I'll tap in, man, and definitely I'll stay in the comments and listen to the chat because you're doing a good thing, Shells, and you too, man. Brother, man, y'all both doing right, man. So I love the platform, man. I tune in and I like what y'all saying. Man, you have a good message, man, for real.
Appreciate you.
Doing good.
All right, my guy.
Appreciate it, brother.
Later. You got anything you want to sneak in before we bring the last person in for hour number one, Dr. E?
No, I'm good. I think I had a couple of young people on here that were supposed to join. I'm going to have to send them some messages like they better jump on the second hour. They faking out on me.
So send them the, you know how to send a message while you're in the live, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Go to the little envelope triangle thing and send that joint to them so they can join now. Because, I mean, if they come in now and they asking to come in, then we could just keep going. But if they're not, then I'll take the break. But I'm going to bring this next person in and see what question or comment they may have, and then we'll take a quick break and come right back.
All right, cool.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on, brothers?
How you doing today?
Hey, not much. I had a question for the brother at the bottom. Are you a life coach?
I'm a psychologist.
I'm the life coach.
Okay. I'm a little bit different from you, brothers. My perspective on things, I'm more what you would call a red pill type of guy. My question to you guys is, what are you advising successful, purposeful men? What are you advising them to do in 2023, knowing the numbers and the statistics that we have in front of us as far as marriages and divorces? What are you advising purposeful, successful men?
Successful men in general, or is it a culture?
Yeah. Successful men. What are you advising them? A man that's successful and on his purpose. He may not be married. What do you advise in a man like that?
Hey, hold on, Dr. E, real quick. Hey, can you mute your mic while you're not talking? You got a lot of background noise.
It's not like he had the ocean. He got it.
Yeah.
He got a picture.
Can you hear me?
I hear you, brother.
Can you mute your mic for me? Appreciate you. All right, Dr. E, go ahead.
I needed more context around the question. He said, what is your advice to a successful, purpose-driven man? And this depends on what the struggle is. You know, for me being a therapist, I'm working with people who, have various things that they're working through that they may have challenges with, or it could be they're just trying to be proactive about life, but they have something that they want to work towards. So if you're saying that you're on your purpose and you're successful, you would have to ask a question for me to be given them.
So real quick, I think I know where he's going, Dr. E. He wants to know, like, what advice, let's say I might be, let's say I was a little bit younger. Let's say I was between 28 and 33, right? But I was in this position that I am now, right? Making decent money, good health insurance, not married, I don't have any kids. What advice are you giving that guy in terms of relationships, marriage, finding the right woman? What advice are you giving him?
Correct.
Okay, so that's it. Okay, so because he said I may not be married, so I don't know whether he was saying he's seeking marriage. Are you saying you're seeking marriage, brother?
No, I'm against marriage.
Okay, so then what exactly do you want advice for?
I'm saying in general. In general, what advice would you give a brother like he just said, purposeful, successful man? You know, all his ducks are in line. What advice would you give me?
So that's the thing. So first off,
Oh, we can't hear you, Dr. E. You cut out. We lost you. All audio.
Hold up, let me see.
Are you back?
I'm back.
Yep.
So what I was saying is, as a therapist, my job is to not give advice. So when you come to me, the therapeutic process is for me to help you to get to the solution that you need to get to based on what challenges that you have, right? So I would need more context to be able to answer the question, because I'm just not giving a general random advice to anybody.
Okay.
So based on the challenges or struggles or issues that individuals have. So we're talking about abusive, toxic relationships. So does your question have to do with abusive, toxic relationships?
Well, I was leaning towards that. I wanted to know, would you advise a successful man to seek a wife in America?
So hold on, Dr. E. Hold on, Dr. E. Let me quantify this for you.
Okay.
I think I'm sorry, what's your name, brother? Chicken. Okay. I think Chicken is basically saying he's not advocating for marriage for a man who's established, financially secure, and successful, because of how divorces typically turn out negatively for men. So I think the direct question is, would you suggest that a man, with the hypothetical that we have, would you suggest to him that he get married?
Right. A successful man.
Okay. So middle
to high earning.
Say again?
I'll say middle to high earning, 75,000 or up.
Okay. So the question is, would I suggest to it? See, that's the thing. Like, you're asking a question that does not apply to my profession, brother. I don't go around making suggestions. I don't go around giving advice. So that's not what therapy is. So if you come to me, if you want to be married and you're trying to figure out, or if you have a question about whether or not you should be married, then we can sort through that, right? But I don't give general answers to anybody.
Okay.
I think that it's going to fit. I don't think everybody is meant for marriage. I've said that before. Right. We've had these discussions before on lives. I don't think everybody's designed for marriage, right? Marriage is not for everybody. And marriage is not predicated upon whether or not you're successful as far as financially or any of that, right? So, it really just depends on the place that you're at. Some people, because of their interests as far as what they want out of life, what their priorities are in life, they probably wouldn't be best suited for marriage. So I think that I've said before, for a successful man, and I work with a lot of successful men. I work with other therapists, doctors, attorneys, lawyers, business owners. And what I can tell you is that the men who have been the most fulfilled in life, who have found themselves to be more focused and to be I think to be able to have the support that they need to maintain and sustain the success that they want, and to actually maximize their I would say to fully maximize the best, to become the best version of yourself. The best way to do that is to have a reflection. If you're doing that alone, you can, as much as you can, attempt to reflect to yourself, but you're going to be limited as to what you can see as far as your areas of development and as far as you can go. So you're only going to be able to go but so far by yourself. So it just depends on how far you want to go. But I wouldn't just give any blanket advice, and it's really just depends on the person. So, I think that if you're saying that you're against marriage, I would ask why.
I feel like unless you want to procreate, a lot of men don't. If you don't want to procreate specifically, marriage is a setback for a successful man. There's too much to risk, and there's no benefits for them, especially now, in 2023, knowing what we know, there's no benefits to a marriage. It slows a man down. A successful man, it's going to slow him down. It's going to put him in debt. It's high risk, no reward, in my opinion. Now, if you want to leave behind a legacy, you want to have children to carry your name, go for it. Do it the right way. Marry before you carry. But if you're a brother that don't want kids, marriage is a waste of time, in my opinion. It's a huge setback for a successful man.
Let me get some more information from you, because you said knowing what we know today. That sounds like that's really critical as far as the point that you're making. Knowing what we know today. What is it that we know today?
Well, the numbers, the divorce rate. What do we see our women portraying themselves online, all over social media? The lack of self-respect, the lack of discipline. Everybody's pushing this whole sneaky link culture, cheat culture. This is what we're up against in the West. The whole social media. This is what we're up against, man. The numbers are against us. Me personally, I'm telling men to leave the West, and in all honesty, that's what I'm telling successful men. I'm telling them to leave.
So I would say be careful with that. What we see is extremely, extremely influential, right? And I would caution you and encourage you to be careful with all of what you see on social media, the numbers that are pushed, all of these things, because they can influence you into believing that, man, this is just a high risk situation to be in, right? And I think there's way more context to the story, right? And I think that when you look at these statistics and you're seeing 50% of the Black community, we're not married, and we're more likely to get divorced, and we're more likely to a 70% as far as the women initiating divorce. But we're talking about just 50% of
that number alone scares a lot of men. Women, right, but women leave 70% of the time, brother.
But this is the thing. That's why you gotta dig a little bit deeper, because it's way bigger than the numbers, right? And I would love to be able to encourage a brother like you to get on board with the reality of the situation, because we need brothers like you to be on the fact that our community needs you, brother. We don't need you to bail out. We don't need you to say, you know what, the numbers are too high, it's too high risk. The risk is based on the lack of self-discipline of the men. Like you said there's a lot of lack of self-discipline out here. But when you're talking about a man being the one to say, will you marry me? He has 100% ability to make sure that marriage stays intact. And these women who are getting divorced are not just getting divorced because they feel like it. And a lot of women don't want to get divorced. The self-image, the courage that it takes to get divorced, and all that goes into them getting divorced. They're not wanting to get these divorces, man. But these brothers are not holding down the fort.
Hold on, brother. I got to disagree with you on that last statement.
I'm going to let you go. I want you to give it to me, because I really want to encourage you, man, because I remember being on the radio. I was on a WHUR, and the brother sounded just like you called it. Nah, man, it's a waste of time. He went on. You advocating for codependency. I was like, nah, brother. Nah, I'm not codependent. My wife and I choose to be married to one another. We don't have to be married. I don't have to be married, brother. Right? It is a choice. And it's a choice because I understand the benefit of it. The benefit of having a mirror that can reflect to me, hey, man, here's where you falling short. Hey, you know what? Last night you didn't sleep too well. Hey, you know what? Because you're not good at that, I can fill in on that. Oh, you know what? I know you're going to be over there. So while you're over there, I can be over here. Like, there's nothing better than a team, brother. There's no argument to convince anybody that one person can accomplish something faster than two people. You can't do it. So the issue is the fact that you're right, that marriages are failing. And it's not because marriage does not work. It is because we are not prepared like we should be. We are looking for other people to be the right person instead of becoming the right person. We're not wanting to put the work in for ourselves, brother. So, but I believe a brother like you, man, if I could get you to understand the power that you have, to be able to I would caution, I don't want you to encourage brothers to because this is the thing that's happening. Because brothers are afraid, because fear, what I hear is fear is the number one motivator, brother. It motivates us to stay put, or it motivates us to leave, it motivates us to fight. It's the number one motivator. And I hear that fear of the unknown is the reason why you're saying it's a waste of time, because it's a high risk, which means there's fear associated with the risk involved. But every guy that I talk to that's afraid of that risk is really afraid of their ability to be consistent, can be committed, their ability to have self-discipline, their ability to follow through with what they say they're going to do. It's really a fear of their own ability to hold down the marriage. That's why they avoid it. But so what were you going to say, brother?
So you feel like the guys are solely responsible for making sure a marriage works?
I believe that if
you don't feel like a woman bears no responsibility in keeping her marriage intact?
No, I think that 100% of responsibility is if the man is asking that woman to marry him, he has 100% responsibility to be a leader. And because of the way men and women are designed, a woman will follow you and she'll go anywhere you go. She'll follow you through a brick wall. She'll follow you through a fire ring. If it's lit on fire, she'll jump through that joint. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, it's the design. It's by design, brother. So I believe it's 100%. We hold the torch and we run with that joint. I'm not going to give no percentage to a woman.
Okay, so let me jump in because I've been quiet for a while, and I'm going to go back and answer Chicken's first question, which as a life coach, what I do is I help people. The first thing I ask people when we start a session is, what's your goal, right? So whatever your goal is that's the direction that we are going to go, right? So if that successful man says, I want to be able to find a wife and start a family, then my coaching is going to be catered towards helping him find a wife and a family. If he says, I don't want to be married, but I want to be a millionaire, or whatever the case may be, I want to be, more emotionally intelligent, then my coaching will be catered to that. If I had someone who was conflicted, I kind of want marriage, but I want her to be the right woman, then what we're going to do is we're going to sit down and come up with a plan for him to understand who he is as a person, who he is as a man, and what type of woman would fit into his life, the pros and cons of being married, the pros and cons of not being married. And then he can make that decision for himself based on whatever it is, whatever revelations we have, coaching and whatever self-work he does outside of, our coaching sessions. In terms of the 100% accountability, responsibility thing, Dr. E and I, we don't agree completely on that. I think that a marriage requires two people doing what needs to be done in order to make the marriage itself work. And I think I understand Dr. E's perspective in a sense where I, as a husband, may say to myself, I'm 100% responsible. But I look at it and I say, if I do everything that I'm supposed to do and I'm a good leader, and my wife does something that causes the marriage to fail, then she has to be responsible and accountable for some aspect of this thing to some capacity. I'll take the boatload, right? If I'm the leader, I'll take the boatload. But I do think, and I told Dr. E this before, we've had this conversation on live, we've had it in sessions. I said, my issue with that particular ideology is that I think it has the potential of telling women that they don't have to be responsible or accountable for their part in a marriage. So it allows women, I think it kind of leads to a space where women could say something like, well, I can do whatever it is I want to do. And if this thing fails and I decide to leave, it's your fault because you asked me to marry you. And I think that's disingenuous.
Yeah.
Let me give a point on that, and this goes to my point as far as leading by example. And I talk about transformational leadership and what that looks like. And as the man in the relationship, if I'm telling my woman, look, I'm 100%. First of all, I'm not going to tell her that. I'm going to just be that, right? I don't have to. I never told my woman, look, you don't have no responsibility. It's all on me. I'm telling y'all that because this is how I handle things, right? I'm saying you move the way it's going to be, and the woman is going to follow suit. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, she's going to hold up her end.
But see, this the pushback. Real quick, my brother. You and Dr. Hulk had this conversation, right? I think a good, and whatever adjective you want to use in your mind for good, woman will follow a good man who's a good leader. But I do think there are women out there who end up in marriages and they're just not good wives, right?
Now, and we prefaced this before, and I agree with that point. And I said part of it has to do with the man being 100% responsible for the woman he chooses. So that goes into you choosing the right person as well. So once you choose the right person, now I'm saying don't try to get out of the responsibility. Look, you chose this woman. Y'all were on the same page. Y'all equally yoked. You made sure she knew what she was supposed. She was self-aware. She's just as motivated as you are. But what we're seeing is that these people are starting off at the start line and they right there next to each other. But somehow these marriages are breaking down. And oftentimes it's because the guy is not following through. And I'm talking about from experience, professional experience, what I see. So I'm talking about experience, brother. I'm talking about over 20 years of working with people who struggling, bro. So I'm talking about in different arenas, the criminal justice system, and I'm talking about just you name it. So I'm not just talking just to be talking, but let's get back to how you're saying there's no benefit. You said there's no
one last thing, brother. What I wanted to say on what you just stated. The type of brothers that I'm running into, they're having problems in that leadership department. They're great leaders, but they're having problems with women following their lead. And one of the things with being a leader is establishing boundaries, rules, and stuff like that. And sometimes those things can be seen as controlling. You're manipulative. You're misogynist. Women have a problem, specifically modern women. They have a problem with rules, boundaries. And that's what a lot of brothers are running into. Something as simple as a brother having an opinion on how his woman is dressed for the evening. Me and my wife are going out and I'm like, hey, honey, could you put something on more, suitable for the night? Oh, you ain't my daddy.
So let me jump.
Simple as that. Brothers are having problem with that.
Let me jump in right quick. So, and I want to say it because Dr. E always says it, so maybe that'll kind of break it up. I think Dr. E's perspective is he puts 100% accountability on the man because he chose that woman. So you should have vetted that woman better before you married her. Am I right, Dr.
E? I agree with that.
So to my brother's point, he's saying he's married to this woman and he's having this problem. This woman was the same woman when you were dating her. So you couldn't have been telling this woman.
Not all the time, brother. A lot of times brothers are getting gaslighted for a long time until a woman gets what she wants. I'm telling you, there's a lot of masking going on out here. People are wearing masks. They're wearing costumes. They're doing all the things you want to see and hear. The minute they get what they want, you see who they are. So there's a lot of gaslighting going on out here. This market is bad, brother. There's a lot of gaslighting going on.
And you know what? I want to agree with that. And I want to say what we have to do as brothers and just as people is we have to learn how to properly vet, because there's ways that you can find out what's under the masks.
Right.
And there's ways you can find that out. And I think what we're doing is we're going with the mask. We're like, oh, man, she dressed like that. Oh, sweet. Oh, she talked like that. Oh, sweet. We're not really digging beneath the mask to really find out who we're dealing with. And we got to learn how to do that better.
So this is what we're going to do. Hey, I appreciate you, Chicken, my brother.
Hey,
Yeah, definitely,
Brian, I want to know why it's not a benefit. So, okay, I think I understand what you're saying about the benefit. I think what you're saying is the juice is not worth the squeeze based on what you have seen brothers going through. You feel like it's just not worth it because these guys are they're having these tough experiences with women. And let me just say this last point on that. And this is something that I think I'm a big advocate of is I hear these passport brothers and brothers who want to just roll out and go, look, it's so easy to go someplace else and get pampered and all this other stuff. And that's the reason why our community is the divorce rate and what's happening now is we don't know how to heal from what we've gone through. And when you're getting into these relationships, the second there's some resistance or the second that there's some conflict, we're not learning how to just be able to help each other to get through these conflicts in an appropriate way and actually heal. And that's what needs to happen. We need to learn how to do that, and we need to be more patient, man. I understand what you're saying about the modern woman. To your point on that, I think that, like I'm hard on guys. We need some ladies to be hard on to the other ladies and say, look, ladies, this is how you have to learn how to treat a good brother. There's some work that needs to be done on both sides, right? Yeah. But it has to happen, man, because if we just throw in the towel and say, look, this is the Western, we out of here, right? Then
a lot of brothers are doing it. I just want to give you brothers one experience that I had overseas, and it may seem small, but it was kind of like, it never happened to me in the States. Anyways, I was overseas, Puerto Plata. Brothers don't know, it's Dominican Republic. Met up with a girl over there, local chick. She's not a sex worker or anything like that. She invited me out for lunch, and she paid for it. The first meeting I had with this chick, I'm not from over there. I'm from the United States. We met up for the first time for lunch, and she paid. I've never had that happen to me in the States. I'm 32 years old. I've never had a woman pay for a first date in the United States.
You know what's so funny, brother? I have a client, a young lady who's a professional. She's multi six-figure earner. She's killing the game, and she just wants a partner. And she's having a trouble finding men who know how to accept a woman who will pull out their wallet and pay. She's running into guys who feel like she's too independent. Because I know you hear how brothers are saying women are too masculine because they're too independent. That's right. That speaks to what you're saying. These women don't have a problem paying for the bill, bro. But they're getting pushback from the guys because the guys saying, well, wait a minute. Well, that's my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. Oh, you're too independent. You're too masculine.
Oof. But see, hold on right quick, Dr. E. I'll say this too, though. I do think there is a small percentage of women out there who are high earners who would do that without emasculating the man. But I also think there's a group of...
They feeling it either way. They feeling it just because she went for a wallet.
I understand. I understand that. But I'm talking about her. I'm talking about the intentions of the woman, right? Mm-hmm. Because people can perceive your actions however they choose to perceive them. What you know is true in your heart is your intent, right? And so what I'm saying is I think what happens is you have some women who are high earners who don't have the intent of emasculating a man by paying for his dinner, right? And if the dude feels emasculated, that's for him to deal with. That's your insecurity, right? But there are also women out there who are high earners who will do it to tell that man, I'm going to pay for this dinner because I don't need you to do it. Right. And that's the emasculating part. And so because human beings have a negativity bias, if that's what you see, then when the good woman does come to pay, that's when that feeling gets evoked. So the ones who do it with ill intentions are playing a role in the interactions with the ones who don't. Right. And that has to be taken into account in the pool. But I can't keep this going because I got other people who want to get in here. And I'm still going to take
thanks for letting me come up, brother. I appreciate y'all, brother.
Anytime. You're welcome back.
Brother,
anytime,
I appreciate you, man. And we need you, brother. Look, man, don't lose hope, man. We need you.
All right, brother.
Y'all take it easy.
All right, peace. All right, so this is what we're going to do, y'all. We're going to take a quick break. If you don't follow me Follow me because I'm coming right back in about 5 minutes. I gotta do a little bit to this audio. My babies are home. I like being married. Marriage is cool to me. I enjoy it. I like having a life partner. Um, I enjoy being able to see, two out of my three kids day in and day out. I have one child out of wedlock, right? So I like the idea that when I've had a long day at work, I have somebody I can come home to and relax on and be open and be vulnerable with and all of those things. I like somebody, my wife, built my website, established my website. And I'm just running down some of the things that as a married man, I find to be beneficial about marriage. Because like Dr. E said, I think some people should be married and are qualified. I think others aren't. But
Bruh.
I think marriage is cool. And I'll say this, and then I'll let you close, Dr. E. And I said this before, to me, love is a gamble and marriage is a leap of faith, right? And to me, it's extremely beautiful when a man finds a woman that he loves enough to potentially lose everything that he worked for. And I know that's scary for some dudes, and a lot of times we make choices out of fear. But to me, love is the foundation of all existence. So when you find that person, don't let your fear of love stop you from getting what God, put in your wheelhouse. So that's my close. Dr. E, what you got in close for hour number one?
Man, I love what you just said, man. And when you said marriage is a leap of faith, I think what I would challenge brothers is to understand that leap of faith has to be in yourself. Have faith in yourself. A lot of brothers don't have faith in themselves. And to me, that's the fear of, you know what, I don't know if I'm going to be able to measure up and do what I got to do. Right. And also when you realize, you know what, I'm so good that even if I had to lose everything and start over, I'm all right with that.
Coming right back.
I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
Like, throw me in the wilderness, butt naked, with nothing. I didn't want nothing from my first marriage. I didn't want nothing. Like, you take what you want. I'm good. Like, I'm going to be right back. Like, when you have that kind of confidence in yourself, there's nothing to be afraid of. Like, and I ask people, so would you rather never experience the best feeling because you were afraid to lose it? Or would you want to experience that for just a couple of minutes, knowing you're going to lose it? Like, would you trade that off just so you can say, you know what, at least I experienced it? Like, for me, I want to max out on life. I want to max this joint out. Like, we only got one as far as I know. So why would I say, you know what, because it may go bad, I'm not going to max this joint out? Nah. And if you're so successful, if you're so great at what you do, then you can bounce right back.
So
bounce right back.
The way I see it is like not going on vacation because the plane might crash. I mean, it could crash,
It could go bad. Every day we step outside, we could not make it, man. Right. But I'm going outside.
I'm going to get this fresh air. And another way that I quantify it too, and then we're gonna sign off and come back. So please come back, y'all. Let's see. Carl and Eric, I'll make sure y'all jump in with Dr. E and I at the top of hour number 2. I say to people, I've always kind of said to people, like, if you could go to heaven for 15 minutes, would you go? Right? Like, so, and I use that across different analogies of life. Meaning, if you tell me you have a goal or a dream, but you don't have a lot of time to invest in it, and you only got 15 minutes a day to invest in it, then start investing that 15 minutes. Now, in terms of the marriage thing, marriage can be very heavenly. It can be very hellish. I agree with Dr. E that the way the man moves dictates that outcome for the most part. So if you want to go to heaven for 15 minutes and be able to come back, then cool. If you don't want to go to heaven for 15 minutes and experience the best possible experience that a human can have, then by all means, don't. And that's cool. And there's no right or wrong answer, but I think it quantifies, how far you want to go into the divine experience.
But don't let fear be what rules you. Don't let fear. Identify how you're going to allow fear to operate in your life. Either you're going to allow it to stop you and put cement blocks on your feet, or you going to let it push you, man.
Right.
I encourage, let fear push you.
So let's do this. 5-10 minute break. Patreon.com/IamChellsX, IamChellsX.com, IamChellsXstore.com for the merch. Black People Go to Therapy podcast. Follow Dr. E on Instagram at Empower All Day. There it is. That's the emblem. Download that joint wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be right back in about 5 or 10 minutes. I gotta go kiss my babies. And in the meantime, in between time, run to the pain and take your power back, baby. Peace.